had actually done their jobs. They didn't, and women and children paid the price. There were plenty of complaints over the years, plenty of allegations of malpractice, patients who died or had to be hospitalized, but still, the state did nothing. In Pennsylvania, abortions past 24 weeks are illegal unless the life or health of the mother is at stake. However, authorities say this man, this doctor, Kermit Gosnell, offered illegal abortions, killing an unknown number of viable fetuses. His criteria wasn't the life or health of the mother. It was, according to authorities, whether or not the mothers could pay in cash. Dr. Gosnell's untrained staff would allegedly induce labor, then he would kill otherwise healthy babies. It's gruesome to even think about, but he did it by snipping their spinal cords with a pair of scissors. Dr. Gosnell was not certified as an obstetrician or a gynecologist and is now on trial on 8 counts of murder. He faces the death penalty. 3 years ago, the FBI raided the Women's Medical Society looking for evidence of illegal drug sales. According to a subsequent grand jury report, what they found when they entered that clinic was utterly horrifying. Blood on the floors, the smell of urine in the air, a flea-infested cat roaming the halls, moaning semi-conscious drug patients sitting beneath blood-stained blankets. The evidence, which is presented in this grand jury report, 281 pages of it, is sickening. According to a police detective, Dr. Gosnell stated that as many as 20% of the fetuses he aborted were probably older than 24 weeks. Page 5 of the grand jury report details the live delivery and killing of a 7.5-month-old baby, 7.5 months old. Big enough, the doctor allegedly said, to, quote, walk me to the bus stop. Page 5 of 281 pages. There is more on every page detailing the unlicensed, untrained staffers, including a 15-year-old hired as an intern who ended up medicating patients and even assisting with abortions. Now, the report also lays out the government agencies that have been given warning signs about Dr. Gosnell's clinics, some of them dating back decades. Now, this story has not received the kind of media attention that one might expect, and that's become part of the story as well. We're going to talk about all of that in a moment with our senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, and others who have been covering this story for a long time. But first, and this isn't easy to watch, more on what allegedly happened inside that clinic. Dr. Gosnell's abortion clinic is now closed, but the allegations of what happened inside are shocking. Babies allegedly murdered after induced labor.
The baby had been born and was on a cold steel table and murdered by taking scissors and putting them into the neck and then severing the spinal cord. So this is just homicide, it's murder.
A scathing grand jury report alleges 72-year-old Dr. Kermit Gosnell and his staff likely murdered hundreds of babies with what he called, quote, snippings to ensure fetal demise. Accurate records, however, were never kept, so Dr. Gosnell is only accused of murdering 7 babies born alive as late as 8 months into pregnancy. The same report also details a litany of gory health violations where he overdosed his patients with dangerous drugs and perforated their wombs and bowels. This woman, who had an abortion performed by Gosnell, believes she contracted a serious infection from deplorable conditions.
I seen blood like on the table that he had the utensils on.
Gosnell also faces an additional count of murdering an adult, this 41-year-old woman who died of an anesthetic overdose during a second trimester abortion. All the more horrifying, Dr. Gosnell's abortion clinic, the Women's Medical Society, had been in business since 1979. The question is, how could this have gone on for so long with no one complaining to state authorities? Well, it turns out there were plenty of complaints, but the state didn't shut the clinic down. The Pennsylvania Department of Health did official inspections as far back as 1989 and repeatedly found health violations in the clinic, but never ensured they were corrected. The grand jury report also said, quote, the medical examiner of Delaware County informed the department that Gosnell had performed an illegal abortion on a 14-year-old girl carrying a 30-week-old baby. They also received official notice of the 41-year-old woman's death, for which Gosnell now faces a murder charge. None of that, however, got the Department of Health to investigate. The grand jury report also states that back in 1993, because of political reasons, the Department of Health stopped inspecting all abortion clinics in the state. Other agencies also failed to properly investigate. The Pennsylvania Department of State, through its Board of Medicine, received a complaint a decade ago from a former employee of Dr. Gosnell, but according to the grand jury report, quote, laid out the whole scope of his operation: the unclean, unsterile conditions, the unlicensed workers, the unsupervised sedation, and the underage abortion patients. They did assign an investigator who interviewed Dr. Gosnell, but incredibly, they never inspected his clinic. The complaint was eventually dismissed. The clinic was finally shut down, not because of botched abortions, but because of drugs. The FBI raided his office on allegations of illegal prescriptions of OxyContin and other